Hi everybody, Jo here. You know what that means. Grab yourself a brew, maybe a cheeky biscuit, and let's have a bit of a catch up. Today I thought I'd share with you one of my favourite designs, and I just think it's such a really lovely design. It's elegant, but you can vary it, you can shake it up a bit. And I think what's nice about finding a design like that is that it often makes you make it a few times, but with a variety of stamps, variety of stencils, maybe using different colours of ink. For me, this, and it's called the along the edge design because we're stamping and stenciling along one edge. Now I tend to favour this edge, but to be fair, you could use the bottom edge, the top edge, the right hand side edge. It's up to you. Now this one I've actually made, this is a DL card, double length. And I just think this type of card is very elegant. This would make a lovely wedding invitation, birthday card, so many different things. You could make a set of notelets, maybe do 4 and just change the colour. How nice would that be? And then gift it to a friend. And if you leave them blank without a sentiment on, then maybe they could decide whether it's a best wishes card. But also, if you give vouchers, what a lovely little popping a voucher in there. Or if you make bookmarks, pop a bookmark in there for a gift. So many things you can do with it. So enough of me going on, let's get started. So I'm going to use a piece of card, and I know you like the measurements. So I'm just going to put my card on one side so I can have a look at what we're going to do, just so I don't go off piece. Do you know what I'm like? So this measures 3.5 inches by just a smidgen under 8, and that's the sign for my DL card. As I say, you can alter this design and use whatever size card you like. Now for me, I'm going to do my stamping first. So you know what I'm like. I'm just going to get my copy of paper. Now the stamp I'm going to use for this is a lovely set, and it's called the Dandelions. And remember, the acetate, the printed acetate is useful if you're not sure how the stamps are going to look. So I've got mine ready on my blocks, and I'm going to start by stamping in my black. So that's the VersaFine Clair, the Nocturne. And again, you could vary what colour ink you use. Now remember, with the stamps, I just want to alter the twist on these a little, because I'm thinking this one at the bottom, it'll look nice coming in at that angle. And I'm trying to get in the habit of not putting my block on my finished piece, because if I've got ink on here, it'll transfer. And you know what we're like for getting those little smudges of ink where we don't want them. So it's all that thing of trying to get into good housekeeping, good practices. Now this design, I want it along the edge, but a little bit of shape at the top and bottom. So I'm thinking that there. And again, just give the ink time to soak in. Don't be in too much of a rush to lift your stamp. Now I want the angle different. So I'm just going to grab myself a little cloth and wipe my stamp, because I don't want to touch it, only because it's got ink on, and I'll just end up with ink on my fingers, and then it will end up on my card. So that's the only reason. I know quite a few of you have sort of asked and had a debate as to whether you clean stamps or not. It is purely your preference. You know, some crafters do, some crafters don't. I mean, really, for me, as I say, it's how you work. I find for me, I have to, because otherwise I will get ink on my fingers and it will go on. I like white space. And if I get ink on the white space, it won't be white space anymore. So, as I say, it's a purely personal thing. And what I'm thinking is, let's have one of these just for balance in the middle. But I don't want this to come, I don't want a line. I want almost a curve. So if I put that there, and then I can fill in. So I'm going to come in, we've got 2 other stamps on this set. Now you could use the same stamp. I mean, again, oh, I've done this with the Lilium is lovely with this design. We've got so many gorgeous Lavinia stamps that you could use for this type of card, this along the edge. Now again, that's quite let's put this one, I think we'll go for that one there. And then let's just have a second generation there. I love that. Look at the detail. Even if I bring it a bit closer, the second generation, the detail you get is beautiful. Almost like fireworks exploding. Now, I don't want this to be too symmetrical, so I'm going to put this one here, and I'm not going to do a second generation. I want it to try and look a natural flow. So we'll come in with the smaller one now. Now, like I say, if you're not sure how it's going to look, bring your acetate back in and maybe, yeah, try your acetate. Oh, that looks better there, doesn't it? So I can be mindful now to stamp it a bit further. And again, don't be afraid to turn your work. You know, it's all about enjoying the process. So I'm thinking we thought this one here, didn't we? And then maybe a little sneaky second generation just to fill that gap. So I'm happy, I like the way that flows. To put a third generation there, just a little something, but not too much. I might overstamp that, I'll see. I'm thinking first generation there, that angle, and then a cheeky bit of second there. Yeah, I think that's going to have a full, but we'll see what it's like at the end. Right, so here, let's put that at that angle, quite a full one, and then just bring in a little bit on that gap. Yeah. So again, I'm happy with that, but this here, can you see, is annoying me. It definitely, that third generation doesn't work. It needs a bold. So again, if we're not sure, bring the acetate in and look. I don't like that. That's too far in. So I'm thinking that, yeah. Just, I think in between the two distances will work. And it's like you can change your mind as you go, and you know, don't be afraid to have a go at something like that third generation and then thinking, oh, actually it doesn't work. You are allowed to change your mind. Yes, so I'm happy with that. I like that flow. Now, the best thing to do, remember, your VersaFine Clair is a slower drying ink. So what we'll actually do is I'll just get my heat tool, and although I've blotted it, we'll just give it a little dry before we do the stencil work. Two reasons. One, I don't want to smudge this, but also I don't want to get any of the black ink on my stencil brush. Now again, whenever you're heating anything from the front, always flip it over, heat it from the back, and your card will flatten. And what we'll do before we do the stencil work, I'm going to add, if you look at the finished design, I've got that lovely black edge. So I'm just going to use a Sharpie pen for that. And I'll do it now before I put my stenciling on. Now, normally I use a ruler for this, but I've actually been, she says, training myself to just hold the card down and whiz it along the card. So if it doesn't work, we might hear some whoopsie daisies. No, we're okay so far. It's definitely a bit more reassuring when you have a ruler. But like I say, I thought I'd live a bit dangerously and just see if I could do it without. And it works. Yeah, so I like that. For me, it just frames the design. Now, you know, if you're after a monochromatic look, I mean, that would be beautiful in itself, wouldn't it? But we're going to bring a little bit of stenciling in. And for this, I've chosen my Laurel stencil. And again, I got all my stencils out. And I just had a little look as to which I thought, I didn't want anything too bold. And I thought with sort of flowers, it's nice to have leaves behind. And I'm going for one colour, and I've gone for paprika in the elements. And I'm using my stencil brush. But what I will say is the elements are very, very juicy. So I'm just going to dip my stencil brush in my ink pad and then put my ink pad away. And then I'm actually going to put the ink on my craft mat. I just find that easier. And as you can see, look how much we've got. And I'm going to use that as a palette. So I'll start at the top. And with your stencil, look at all the different way the leaves go. So I want a leaf that's almost going to come in this direction. And again, so I'm going to move my stencil round and look for a nice shape. Oh, I like this one here. Just check you can see what I'm talking about. So this one here, I'm thinking, doesn't matter if I get here. I'm trying to avoid these edges because I don't want to come over and then have a line across. And I bet there's a few of you nodding. I bet you've done that before, haven't you? So let's go for this nice swirl in there. If I can get that leaf in that corner. And I'm just going to hold mine down. You can use tape, but I'm just going to use my hand. A couple of things to remember. I'm going to start in the corners because I want the edges darker. And obviously I've got the most ink on my stencil brush when I start, and that can be a guide to just show how much. Yep, that's fine. Probably a little bit much, so I'll take a bit more off. And then I'm lightly just going to almost flick. And I'm working in the direction, especially with this, if you look at the leaves, they're quite delicate. So I'm going in the direction that the stencil goes, not against it. Otherwise I could damage the stencil. So just a nice bit of flicking. I can come in a bit heavier, as I say, around the edges. And then if I lift my stencil up, oh yes, that's pretty. That's just enough there. So I'll work at the bottom next. And actually I think the same, again, don't be afraid to move everything round. Just wondering whether the same, that one there I think would work well there. I'm going to use a piece of kitchen roll this time, just in case I've got ink on this hand. So again, I'm going to pick a bit of ink up from my mat, and I'm coming in from the edges. Always from the edges. And then lightly just flick on this shape here. And I'm brushing quite lightly because I don't want too much ink over there. That's nice. Maybe a little bit dark around here. So can you see we're building up that nice shape, but I want some white space here. So there's just the middle to fill in. So for me, if I turn it that way, I think if I just put this here, I don't want to over stencil. Let's have a look. Where have I got a nice... Oh, that edge is quite nice there, isn't it? Just these three. So again, if I hold that down there, and it's all about just moving your stencil round, just so that that shape suits what you're after. And I almost want the ink to join, and then the stencil will look like it's been one continuous. So let's lift that up. Yes, you see, I don't want any more. That's enough. And I like that shape because it's not a straight line. Actually, I think I prefer that shape more than my original one. So what I'm going to do is just add a bit more ink just around the edges. So I'm just going to take my stencil brush and just flick a little bit of this ink just down those edges, just to darken, especially here. And it's using that ink that's on my palette, on my mat. It's very pretty. And what I will do with that ink as well is I've got my fan brush in a pot of water. So I'm going to pick some of that water up with my fan brush and just lightly, let's have some. We don't want too many. Now you could leave it with the complete white space if you want. I just want to add a few of the nice splats. There. A few, she says. Now a couple of things. Just going to wipe this up. Now again, normally I would dip a piece of card in and use that as a background. But just while we're spending our time together, I'll clean it up. But what I will do is, look, I've got this ink on this stencil here. So I've got another piece of card. Now this is where Eric, so those of you who know me know that Eric's my black Labrador, and he sits under my craft table. And I've just spritzed some water on this off shot. So he's now got nice water on his back. But he's a Labrador, so he's happy with that. And then what we'll do, we don't want to waste that ink. So let's see if we can get one of those 2 for backgrounds, 2 for the price of 1. Just give the ink time to soak in. And again, I'm pressing the stencil. I'm trying not to rub it or move it because obviously this is such a delicate stencil. I don't want to ruin. You can easily lift these edges up. So make sure you're mindful to actually press it down. Now let's have a little look. Oh yes, we can take that off. Look at that. Now I've got to be honest, what a lovely background. So again, I will put that on one side, and when that's dry, that's going to be my bonus background. So for that time when you need a quick card, just imagine some ink around the edge. You need a single stamp there, or maybe the fish. Oh, you know, so many things. These spare backgrounds, I think, are just amazing. Last little thing we're going to do to this is add a little bit of glitter. So I'm going to just bring my heat tool in, again, just to dry this, just to stop the glitter sticking where I don't want it. Again, front and back. Now let's get ourselves another piece of copy paper. And I'm just going to make a little nick. That's going to be my funnel. So the glitter I've chosen it's one of the Eco Glitters, and this one is Vintage Shimmer. I just thought that lovely shimmer would go. I could have gone for a tone on tone, but I just fancied the shimmer on this. And all I'm going to do, quickie glue pen, and obviously at home you will spend longer doing this and you'll put it exactly where, but I'm just gonna go a bit dotty. Although to be fair, I think my family think I'm a bit dotty already, but there we go. And the beauty of this is it's almost, I think this is like adult glitter. It's glitter, but not too in your face. And these dandelions just cry out for glitter. And I have found that my quickie glue pen does stay wet long enough on the card that I can get all the way around. I think we've got some nice sound effects going on, haven't we? Dot, 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 dot. Could be doing semaphore, couldn't I? Dot, dot, dash, dash, dot, dash. Right, and because the glitter has got different size particles in it, I must admit I empty the whole jar, just because I'm like that. You don't need to, but I like to just get all the different size pieces out. It probably says something about me, but I don't know what. Probably best I don't know. So carefully lift that up, and then I'm just going to give it a gentle tap, just so I get all that glitter off. And I always tap the back, and I have a spare paintbrush, just one of the ones that's just perfect for nothing else other than glitter, and I use it just for glitter. There we go. But look at that. If I just bring that a bit closer, can you see? Now, don't worry, if there's any on the ink here, it won't stay. It will only stay to where we've put the glue. So these odd little bits, again, if I give it another tap, because I want to get as much as I can back in that jar, ready to use again. So lift my copy paper up. And then this is where you, again, I find the brush very useful, just to gently tap. And I don't know what it is about your glitters, Tracy, but I always find there seems more. I do have trouble getting it back in the pot. I think it seems to expand. So I don't know if any of you other crafters have found that. Mine definitely expands. I have trouble getting it all back in, which is good. Right, I've got some little particles left. Perfect. Give it a little tap and flatten it. Put the lid on that. We don't want any spillages, any mishaps, do we? And there we go, look. As I say, just look at the sparkle. And it's nice because it's not overpowering. Now bring in the one. Now I've just added the word spirit to this one. I like to chop some of my sentiments up. I tend to stamp a lot of sentiments, and then I just look for odd words. I think this one was from Let Your Spirit Fly. This one I'm going to leave without a sentiment, just because for me, this will be for my emergency card. You know what it's like last minute when you forget something, and then I can add something there or there. And as I say, have a go, try different colours, try your different stamps. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me. If you do have a go, please tag me in. I love to see what you do, I really do. And your work, it helps other people, and we all love to share ideas. You take care. I hope you have a good week. Much love and hugs from me. Bye for now.